private equity firm planned 1,700 courts across Europe. A Spanish app just raised 65 million euros. And in Qatar, one company now owns the entire professional tour. Padel didn't just go viral, it got financed. More than 50,000 courts now exist worldwide, with 7,000 built in just 1 year. That kind of scale doesn't come from passion alone. It happens when serious money lines up. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see who's really funding Padel's global rise and why it matters more than you think. Let's start with the platforms, the companies running the apps that make Padel playable and profitable. Every modern sport that scales needs digital infrastructure, the systems that decide who plays, when, and how they pay. For Padel, that infrastructure is mainly Playtomic. As of 2025, Playtomic powers 6,000 courts across 63 countries, serving roughly 1.5 million monthly players. In March 2025, it raised 65 million euros, including financing from Banco Santander to push into the US, UK, and Germany, bringing its valuation to around 250 million euros. Revenue in 2024 was over 240 million euros, growing around 40% year on year. So why are investors backing a booking app? Because it behaves like infrastructure, recurring revenue, network effects, and valuable data. Playtomic's model has 4 main revenue streams. First, fees from every booking. Second, subscription software for clubs, handling memberships, payments, and yield management. Third, premium player subscriptions, giving users extra stats, match history, and advanced features inside the app. And fourth, data and sponsorship, knowing who plays, where, and how often. That data is valuable. It shows when new courts could be built, how players move between clubs, and what times of the day drive the most money. For investors, it's leverage. When you own the data layer of a sport, you don't just see the market, you can steer it. Then there's the physical side, the people actually building the courts. Once booking platforms proved the demand was real, property investors followed fast. This is where private equity groups, operator chains, and local entrepreneurs turned empty warehouses into glass-walled clubs. The biggest corporate move came from Triton Partners, who created Ladap Group in 2021. Ladap launched with more than 90 centres and 600 courts across 7 countries, and announced plans for over 1,700. The strategy was simple. Lock in long leases on underutilised industrial sites, roll out a repeatable club format, and scale fast through acquisitions. For a while it worked, but by 2023 the market that inspired it, Sweden, was already cracking. Courts outpaced players, utilisation dropped, and business models built on 70% peak hour occupancy fell apart. Within a year, some operators were restructuring and closing sites. Private equity money doesn't wait around. A typical club needs around 30 to 40% utilisation across the week to break even. Below that, the debt load bites hard. That's why the better operators diversify. Coaching academies, memberships, corporate events, food and drink, retail, and leagues. Broad income streams instead of just one. The money that builds those glass boxes expects steady cash flow. And if that cash flow disappears, so does the capital. If you're exploring the business side yourself, I've made a free guide covering the typical setup costs and key decisions. You'll find that on my website, linked in the description below. Next comes the attention, the investors who turn Padel into culture. In Sweden, Zlatan Ibrahimovic co-founded Padel Center, opening premium venues even as the local market cooled. In the UK, Game for Padel, backed early by Andy Murray, grew into one of the UK's largest operators, now valued around £27 million and joined by footballers Jamie Vardy, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Tammy Abraham and Callum Wilson. At the event level, the Hexagon Cup debuted in Madrid with over 30,000 spectators and millions of online views. Owners and ambassadors include Rafael Nadal, Lionel Messi, Eva Longoria and Anthony Joshua. For these investors, attention is the product. Celebrity money does 3 things. It drives awareness. One post can reach millions. It attracts sponsors. Brands want to be where famous faces are. And it repositions the sport, from niche pastime to social lifestyle. And it works. Game for Padel's celebrity backing helped it land premium venues in shopping centres and leisure hubs, the places mainstream consumers already go. In Spain, celebrity-driven events generate media coverage far beyond the player base. But fame can fade. If the business model underneath isn't stable, celebrity hype can disappear overnight. And finally, at the top of the pyramid, the federations, governments, and state investors shaping Padel's global story. In 2022, Qatar Sports Investments, the same group that owns Paris Saint-Germain, launched Premier Padel with the International Padel Federation. A year later, it acquired the World Padel Tour, merging the circuits into a single global product. Sponsors like Qatar Airways and Heineken 0.0 signed on within months. That merger unified rankings and calendars, ending years of legal battles, and created one premium package to sell worldwide. But it's about more than sport. For Qatar, Padel fits into a much bigger plan. Diversify the economy, expand cultural influence, and make Doha a global sports hub. Owning the Pro Tour gives the state global visibility far beyond its size, with events across Europe, Latin America, and Asia carrying Qatari sponsors and branding. Saudi Arabia is following a similar playbook through Vision 2030, building over 1,000 courts, launching national leagues, and tying padel into school and university sport. Each project doubles as tourism and urban development. Across Europe, public bodies are backing padel for their own reasons. The UK's LTA has co-founded hundreds of new courts, and now counts over 400,000 regular players. In Spain, councils often provide land or grants because padel clubs activate unused real estate and community spaces. Public and state funding matters because it lowers the risk for everyone else. When federations or governments support infrastructure, private money follows. And when the top of the pyramid, the tour, is stable, sponsors, broadcasters, and platforms can commit for the long term. Every boom looks unstoppable until someone checks the numbers. In Sweden, supply outran demand. In the UK, noise and zoning issues have pushed many clubs indoors, adding £1 million build costs and delays. And clubs relying only on hourly court hire can't absorb utilisation dips. Then there's the huge potential of the United States. From fewer than 30 courts in 2020 to more than 600 by 2025. That's a 20-fold jump. Playtomic's latest funding is aimed squarely at that market. If America manages to align platforms, property, celebrities, and tours into one ecosystem, it could unlock the largest sports commerce engine on Earth. It just has to compete with pickleball. For investors everywhere else, Europe, South Africa, the Middle East, even New Zealand, I believe that what happens in America may set the next benchmark for the entire industry. So where's the money coming from? From the platforms turning data and bookings into infrastructure, from the builders turning real estate into cash flow, from the stars turning padel into culture, and from the power brokers, the states and federations using the sport for influence. When those forces align, the capital flows faster than courts can be built. Padel's first wave was fueled by passion, the second by capital, and the third will be by execution and sustainability. If the sport can balance profit with community, ambition with sustainability, padel doesn't just boom, it settles in. Because in the end, who funds padel will decide what kind of sport it becomes. Subscribe for more data-driven stories about how the world's fastest growing sport is being built, funded, and fought over. See you in the next video.